All right, this is the GCAAR listing agreement we're going to go through. It's for Montgomery and DC. Uh, the way GCAAR works is they cover Montgomery County and Washington, DC, and they have addenda or jurisdictional notices or addendum that separate it out. But most of the contract is written the same way for both those areas. Used to be, honestly, whether you knew this or not, that NVAR used to be part of that. There was the NVAR, there was the regional uh, contract. And then you had addenda for Northern Virginia, jurisdictional GCAR had a Maryland and DC. And it got so much bigger in our area, we just decided to quit using the same contract. So now it's just Montgomery County and DC that use that one. Okay. Can you use MAR with a GCAR property? Yes. But there are jurisdictional things in Montgomery County that would not be in the MAR documents. So, all right, question came up earlier. Where did I get these forms? I'm at the gcar.com website and I log in and I have access to the forms, and you can just pull down whatever forms you're looking for. They got a good search engine here and everything. So that's where I've pulled these down here. They're in our libraries, which makes them fillable in DocuSign and zip forms and all those other form systems. Okay. All right. So listing agreement. Obviously, since Melanie was here and Raekwon, Esther wasn't, but Esther, you sell in Montgomery County, right? In DC. Do you you're silent, but do you do Maryland only or DC? Yeah, your microphone is muted. I can't hear you, Esther. Or you just hit the space button while you hold it down. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. If you're in Zoom, just hold the space bar down while you talk. No, still don't hear you. All right, well, just give me a thumbs up. Do you do Maryland? Yes or no? Yeah, yeah, it's still muted. Anyway. Okay, well, I'm going to go through Maryland first. And then if we have time, I'll go through DC. That's all I really wanted to let you know is I'm going to focus on Maryland to begin with. Okay. Oh, now you're unmuted, Esther. Okay, great. All right. Okay. So a lot of this is about the same as the other form. So I'm not going to go through all the little details like I did before. I'm just going to try to find the items on it that are specific to Montgomery County. Okay. So I like this in the listing seller. They got emergency contact only if necessary if sole owner. That's not a bad idea. I've had it a couple of times where the client gets sick. Just this last week, we got a phone call from the neighbor saying, "Hey, by the way, your owner just got hauled off in an ambulance." So he got the number off the sign in the yard. Said, "Oh, hi, I'm the neighbor." I called an agent once off the sign to let him know their listing was on fire. Hey, I'm with XY. I'm with KW. Someone's got to tell you your listing's on fire. There's fire trucks out here and everything. So, I'm sure he found out. Anyway, signs are powerful things. All right. You got the brokerage information. You know what that is, the listing price, listing period, how long, entry into the Bright MLS, property information submitted to the MLS, when that's going to be. All right. Okay. And then this is the public marketing and non-marketing. They kind of wrap it up right there. Then they go into the status of the property. Well, how are you going to do this? Pre-marketing, coming soon, active status, limited office exclusive. The good thing for us in our area is if you sell in all three jurisdictions, you kind of get an idea of what it would be like, what other states deal with and how they do it differently. Raekwon and I were just talking about he was at down in Texas?
Mega Camp.
Mega Camp, and he gets down there and everyone else is freaking out because of buyer agreements. He says, well, you know, we've had ours for 30 years.
That's literally what I said. It's just like
And they were like, what? Because we found out when the NAR came here that only 18, only 28, only 18 had buyer broker agreements. And 32 states did not. That's why everyone was freaking out. So we're pretty fortunate here that we have a lot of stuff already in place. So anyway, so you got coming soon, active status, and limited office exclusive status. If you do this, then you need the MLS, bright MLS addendum that goes with that. The broker compensation. Okay, let's see how they handle it here with their bananas, all right? So seller agrees that listing broker shall receive a broker's compensation of X% of the sales price or blank flat fee and an additional flat fee in the amount of blank. Seller acknowledges that listing broker compensation shall be earned and payable as follows, which these are all pretty much the same as what we just followed in the MAR. Seller enters into a sales contract during the listing period with any buyer. Listing broker compensation will be paid if property is sold, exchanged, conveyed, or otherwise transferred within X number of days after the expiration of listing. We know that. Listing broker compensation is due at settlement. And that's what that is as far as compensation. Additional listing broker compensation for unrepresented buyers. So you're at an open house and a buyer comes in or they call you on the phone. I would like to look at the property. If you're the listing agent, you do not need a buyer broker agreement with them to show them the property. Okay. So you show them the property and they want to buy it. They do not have an agent. That's where B comes in. Okay. I'm getting that whole, there we go. I'm looking like an alien here a few times when my light gets wrong on my view. So B is where I have an unrepresented buyer that I showed the property to or came to an open house. What am I going to get paid for that side of the transaction? It's not like you're double dipping here. You are double working is like the way I like to explain it to people. It's great if you can get both sides financially, you're going to make more money. If you put it in here that you're going to make more money. I don't understand agents that will work double time for half the money. I just don't get that. So you put in here what is. What I do is I put my full commission for the listing side, and I do it a half again for the additional listing brokerage. So if I was getting 25 bananas, I would then ask for 12 and a half more bananas. Okay. Buyer broker compensation. Seller agrees to pay to buyer broker. So unlike in a MAR, GCAAR has adapted the way that we're doing it within VAR where, all right, Mr. and Ms. Seller, what do you want to pay to the buyer broker? And then they put in whatever they're going to put, 10, 12 bananas or a flat fee. Okay. Seller understands that buyer broker compensation is negotiable and must be made a part of any ratified contract of sale. You may ask, how come GCAAR and NVAR have a lot of the same language? Because we have a lot of the same attorneys. All I mean by that is like there are attorneys that are on our forms committee that also serve on the forms committee over there. And I'm not saying that's exactly what they're doing, but it just seems to me that they're probably following suit. Well, what's GCAAR doing? What's NVAR doing? Does that make sense for us? Well, maybe we should change it or whatever. But we have in ours in NVAR that they understand whatever they put here, it's going to be nailed down with a ratified contract. Sub-agent, because sub-agency is still practiced in Maryland. Forfeiture deposit. They're just letting them know in the listing agreement if the EMD is forfeited or there's award of damages by a court or compromise agreement between seller and buyer, listing broker may accept and seller agrees to pay listing broker 1/2 of the deposit. Again, MAR puts in there that it's blanks. Does the listing company get X% or X number of dollars? GCAAR's decided to just go ahead and put it in pre-printed. If there's a EMD cancellation, we're going to get half of it. Interesting. If seller enters into a contract with a buyer during the original listing period and buyer subsequently defaults, then the original listing period is extended by the number of days property was under contract. Oh, that's pretty cool. So if you're going through December 31 and you go under contract now, and in 2 weeks they fall out, you add 2 weeks onto the agreement, and now you're going through January 15th or 14th. Honestly, I don't remember seeing that before. Attorney's fees. Now, this is between us and the seller, the listing company and the seller. If for some reason we go to court, whoever loses pays the winner's attorney's fees. Agency, explaining dual agency. Remember, dual agency in Montgomery County and all Maryland is different than dual agency in Virginia. Well, dual agency means the same company is representing both parties in Virginia and in Maryland. Dual agency, besides that, under dual agency is dual representation. In Virginia, that's allowed. The buyer agent can have, the listing agent can have the buyer. It's allowed. We don't practice it at KW United. We feel like it's not in the best interest of either party. Then there is designated representation. That is the same as dual agency in Maryland, which means the buyer and seller are represented by the same company, but different agents. So we just have a little bit different name for it. So dual agency or dual representation in Maryland, in DC, or excuse me, in Maryland, is such that both agents work for the same company. Not the same franchise. You could have two Century 21 or Keller Williams or Remax agents and it not be dual agency because all of us are in a franchise situation. Okay. So like, KW United, same franchise, the same type of franchise relationship as KW Capital Properties, but those are two different brokerages. So there's no dual agency there. And then in Maryland, there is a consent for dual agency form. And there's also a dual agency with a team form. So let's say Anthony Carr Associates, that's my broker, that's my name of my company I operate real estate under, Anthony Carr Associates LLC. If Raekwon was working with me as a team member of Anthony Carr Associates, we would have to have a dual agency within a team form. But he doesn't. He doesn't work with my team. So we would just need a consent for dual agency form because we're both with KW United. Authorizations, sign, seller lets me put in a for sale sign, key and lockbox. They put everything right here. Lockbox or key box. Okay. And they're giving me access to it. Also lets them know you're giving me access for appraisers, inspectors, exterminators, etc. Limited access showings. They're putting out there what this is if you have a contractor that needs access to the lockbox with our MLS, I can give them a 1-day code. Or if I had a key box, I could give them the combination and they go into it. Okay. If it's a leased property, you're showing it and there are tenants in it, the seller must give you a signed form from the tenant that it's okay for us to have a lockbox on there. We showed you that earlier. Private insurance, it's just saying sellers advised to take all precautions for safekeeping of valuables to maintain appropriate insurance through seller's own insurance company. This is the same paragraph that was the MARs, that if you pass away or become incapacitated, that it will still be carried out with the heirs and assigns. I'm sorry, no, this is about the liability. It's just got the heirs and assigns in the contract. That all these people will hold us harmless if something happens in the property. That's all under key and lockbox. Marketing, virtual office websites. And this is the section of coming soon, active, active in the MLS only, active in the MLS and the internet. It's the same type of section as it is under MAR and NVAR, okay? Okay. Inclusions, exclusions, this is a whole nother form, and we'll go through that in just a moment. Property condition and disclosure of material facts. The seller must tell me something about the property that is a material fact that I would not know. Okay? And we have forms to do that. They indemnify the listing brokerage and sales associates from all claims, arising from any incorrect information. Hazardous materials, do you have any in the house? Please let me know about it. Lead-based paint, we've talked about that. Renovation, repair, and painting, they have to be EPA certified if they're going to break open walls and stuff like that with a certain amount of square footage with a property built before 1978. Okay. Wood destroying insects. Seller agrees to provide access to the property for it. The inspection shall include the house, garage, or other outbuildings and any fences. If infestation or damage exists, then prior to or at settlement, seller agrees that seller is expected to treat infestation, repair damage in according with the terms of the contract. Now, the MAR contract, I should have gone through this when we did MAR. The addendum on that one on the home inspection includes wood destroying insects. So once that's done, you now are negotiating on that with the MAR contract. In the NVAR and the GCAAR contract, the seller's already agreeing to treat the infestation and repair the damage. The difference between NVAR and this one is ours says treat any active infestation. So we added the word active in NVAR. So we're better. No, not really. Just different. Please tell me if you have anything on your property. Any liens, any judgments, anything like that. Encumbrances on the property. Oh yeah, Frank built this fence and it's 5 feet over the line. Let me know that. Or my fence is 5 lines over the line, 5 feet over the line. Let me know that. Okay. All right, now check any and all that apply. Property is owned, free, and clear. Okay, if you do that, then most of these other things don't have to be checked. Yeah, if checked, skip to G. Are there liens filed, secured against the property for taxes or anything like that? There are judgments. I do see this, not regularly, but enough times to remind everyone, if you're not supposed to, don't leave a box unchecked, okay? Something along here should be checked. If there's a mortgage, B through B and below should have check marks in it somewhere. Is it security for first mortgage? Check. Is there a second mortgage? No, don't check. Is there for line of credit? Don't check. Some people, I ask them, do you have a line of credit, like a HELOC? No. Have you ever had a HELOC? Oh, yeah, we did, but it's paid off. Then they may still have it in the records as it's there, even though they paid it off. It may still be active, so just be aware of that. Seller has filed for bankruptcy. It's a yes or no question. Property is subject to an estate. There's a deceased co-owner. Even if the person has been passed away for years, you may still need a death certificate. Yeah, this is important. There's a pending divorce decree. I don't think we have this in our listing agreement, but it would be great. I've had to have agents ask 3 clients this month, do you have the separation agreement or the divorce decree? Did someone have a question? No? Okay.
I did.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to ask real quick on the HELOCs. Is your guidance, if they have said that they have had a HELOC, to like calling it some, let's say like a paperwork or confirmation reflecting that it's been paid off? And
yeah, I would. That's not a bad idea. In particular is when they think that it's been closed. Well, do you have a payoff and a closing of that? Because line of credit is it's an account. It's a line of credit. And this is where, if you ever have a problem with all the mortgages and everything, it's when they forget they have a line of credit because they got it when they're, early on, they went on vacations, paid off debt, paid it off, and never thought anything else about it. And now here we are 15 years later, and it's still an open line of credit. So it's good for them to clean house on that. Any legal proceedings pending that could result in judgment against the seller. Any seller is a foreign person for purposes of U.S. income taxation, all right? The key on this one is for purposes of U.S. income taxation. It doesn't mean that they're a naturalized citizen, that they were born elsewhere, period. It means, well, yeah, you were born in Bolivia, but do you still consider yourself a foreign person for purposes of U.S. income taxation? That's what you're asking. Are you in a condo, co-op, or HOA? Smoke detector and carbon monoxide, that you will have them installed. And remember, this is still Maryland, so that smoke detector cannot be older than 10 years. Okay. Fair housing. In all three of the contracts, this may be a little bit different. Virginia's hangs on to the national fair housing in a couple of Virginias, but there are also some in there where they don't have the local protected classes. So just be aware of the local protected classes. Okay. Closing costs. Seller acknowledges that buyers have the right to select the title insurance company, settlement or escrow company, or title attorney. Seller agrees to pay settlement costs, including but not limited to the release of liens and all the things that they're required to pay off. Okay. Federal tax. On that one and on some of these others, let me point this out. Sometimes, and I found this is usually sellers with a legal or accounting background, they will want in an addendum things that are already in the contract.
Yeah.
I don't want to pay for, this is all I'm going to pay for. It's in there. I want it in an addendum. You're so smart, you're starting to look stupid. I'm sorry. Just come on. It's already in there, pre-printed. They feel better when they get it done. I think they want to feel affirmed in the process or something. Federal tax reporting withholding. Let her know that the settlement agents are required to report gross sales prices. And so that will be sent to the IRS. And then deals with FERPTA there, which we've dealt with before. Okay. General provisions, laws and regulations. Listing. This is just letting them know, look, we as a brokerage, we're a brokerage. We got to obey the law, whether you like the law or not. I may have other listings like yours that I might sell. Someone comes and sees yours, doesn't want to buy yours. I may take them to another property to see that one. I haven't done anything against you by doing that. Okay. When I get other offers, I still got to show them to you. Okay. But I don't have to get any more, but I still have to show them to you. Yep. Okay. This is what delivery is. Delivery means hand carried effects in the event. Okay. All right. Notice this agreement shall be deemed enforceable when it and all addenda any modifications have been signed and initialed where required by the seller and broker or supervising manager and delivered to the other party. Don't forget that, and delivered to the other party. Okay. Authority to disclose existing offers. Seller is advised that prospective buyers or cooperating brokers may inquire if there are other ones. And same type of language as we had in the MAR. Do you authorize or not authorize, and why that might be a good idea or not. Homeowner warranty. Do you have one? Do you want to have one? Yes, no. I see this unchecked more than anything else in the contract. Does not. There is no possibly. NVAR says yes, no. There is no maybe. So just, it'll keep you out of trouble someday. Binding agreement, not just that, but in the whole box checking thing. This just says this agreement of the listing agreement is, it's the total agreement. This is that place here where it talks about it's binding on all parties. You're acknowledged,
Anthony,
you've read, yeah.
sorry, going back to that home warranty, is your guidance that people should encourage their sellers to go ahead and do that? Like, have you ever had a situation where, once it went on the market, then something major broke, HVAC went out or what? Like, what is your opinion on that? I know on the buy side, it's a good idea.
Yeah, if
Put in
it's
the
just
contract,
I just tell them the benefits of it. The pros of it are you're covered with various things while you're on the market, and then you have something you can pass on to the buyer if they're walking into it without a home inspection. The cons, you spent the money. That's really the con. Now, does it cover everything? They might be something that comes up that you go to get a claim on and they don't cover it. So you might feel like, dang, why did I spend this $700? I've had them before and used them, and I was glad I did. And I've not had them before and needed them and wish I had. Okay. So I'm on both sides of that one. Binding agreement. Oh, we just went through that. Termination. This agreement may be terminated prior to the end of the listing agreement only by mutual written agreement of the parties. They can't just send you a note and you're out. All right. And Montgomery County, that's for DC. Montgomery County, we have a jurisdictional addendum to the listing agreement that we'll go through on that one. Okay. Then you got places for me to sign. All right. On the signing, I am the last one to sign. Okay. So be sure to because in the DocuSign and other signing platforms, you can put a signing order. And so let's say you got Mr. and Ms. Seller, and then the broker. If you don't do anything, we all three get it at the same time. So what I'd rather do is set signing order and put 1 and 1. Both of them get 1 for the sellers and put 2 for me. And then I don't get it till both of them have signed it.
And for this one though, you will put yourself in there as 2 and then you and me as 3 because the listing agent also has to sign.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Good point. On this one and on several of the documents here, if you have to sign it, put yourself, this will be the same for like listing. If you're sending me documents with lead-based paint, those types of anything that you got to sign, you would become number 2 and I would become number 3. Good point. Thanks, Raekwon. Raekwon is our GCAAR representative. He's probably getting more association junk in his head than he ever bargained for.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, man. I like them. I think they're great organizations. Yeah. You will not hear me complain about them much. They pick up a lot of heavy loads for us. So this is the GCAAR Maryland Residential Property Disclosure and Disclaimer Statement. You'll see it looks very familiar, like the MAR. And so same type of yes, no, and unknown boxes. And then down at the bottom, you just say, I don't know nothing about nothing. Does the seller have actual knowledge? No. Okay, sign. So that's the disclaimer part of it. I don't know. I see 50-50. I think some people believe if I disclose what's the water, what's the sewage, is there a garbage disposal, does it work? Yes, no, unknown. They feel like I'm at least being open and transparent about the condition of these things. And the buyer at least says, well, this is at least what they're saying, that, there's no structural system issues. There's no plumbing system issues. So hopefully they're not lying to me when they say yes. So there you go. All right. Inclusions, exclusions. This is where we have this in the listing agreement and in the contract. They have it as an addendum. and it's just checking the boxes, and then putting numbers if there's more than one. That's interesting. They got a wine refrigerator as a separate item.
Well, it's because, I mean, I've seen where that was there in the basement, and then upon closing, it was gone.
Ooh.
So, yeah, I do, like, that should be there.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I actually think that Maryland and Virginia should add it.
Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea. And in Maryland, they still have trash compactor.
Yeah.
We took it out. So they got space.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Now, it's something NVAR did. I hadn't really noticed it till I saw this one. NVAR put it all in alphabetical order. This one isn't. So next, you might want to mention that to your folks over there. Like, hey, you know what would help? Put it in alphabetical order.
But honestly, to be honest, I feel like I like this better because it's sectioned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. So I because that's easier. Now I can be like, oh, in the kitchen, there's this.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, that's a good point.
Sometimes
Yeah.
When it's in alphabetical order, you can get lost. And forget to like check something. So.
Yeah, did y'all catch that? I didn't even catch it while I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
This is in sections of the living the domicile. What electronics are included? What living areas have these items? That's pretty good. I still would like it in alphabetical order. Underneath each one.
Well, they could do, right. I was gonna say they could do that and put it in alphabetical order.
Where's the cooktop? All right, I'm not gonna assume anything about anybody, so I'm just gonna say it. Cooktop, you usually don't have a stove and a cooktop. You have a cooktop or a stove. And if you have a stove and range, you usually don't have wall oven. You usually have a wall oven and a cooktop together or a stove range. Okay. I'm just putting it out there. Okay. Solar panels, point that out because if you do that, you got to have a separate addendum. All right. What will be removed? Yeah.
Can I add like to this solar panel thing? Like for this, also check with the agent because sometimes homes will come with the solar panel, but then the solar panel, you have to still get approved by that solar panel company if it's leased or if it's being paid on.
Right.
So like I sold a house where we went under contract. In addition to my buyer getting approved for his loan, he then had to go to Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
And was it Tesla? Yeah, it was
Tesla. Yeah.
And then say like, hey, it's a transfer of solar or something, but
they had to give an application.
And they
to
have to
them?
do an application
Wow.
and get approved, and that's separate from the actual purchase of the home. So if they don't get approved for that.
Did y'all catch that? I didn't even think about that part of it.
Yeah.
Usually I was just thinking, yeah, there's a transfer fee, they get transferred and bang, they got to start making the payment. But at least Tesla says, no, we want an application on you.
Yeah.
Are you too tight to be able to buy this?
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty good. Items that will be removed, any kind of service contracts. Service contracts, usually what I see there would be like fuel tanks. All the other ones usually just they expire when the owner moves out. So appliances, I just heard my first the agent said the deal fell apart because they were leasing their HVAC.
Yeah.
Were you the one that told me that?
No, but it can happen. Like people will lease items from the center, but if you checked that the home is included with a refrigerator, then you have to now explain.
Well, what I was talking about specifically was the HVAC system.
I didn't know.
Like the heat pump. So well, some of these companies are now saying, hey, don't own the heat pump, lease it from us and we'll take care of it. I'm like, so one day you come out and the thing's gone?
No, also you miss a payment in the year in the winter and you're freezing because you missed your payments. But
but now, and so that would be another leased item that might be there. So we don't actually have that up here, but that would be a question to ask. Hey, by the way, oh, here you go, water. Yeah.
And also, it also says service contracts too. So I have seen where, and that can be negotiated like lawn contracts. Like the seller had a contract with the lawn company, and it's to the property, it wasn't to the person. So,
Oh.
but we negotiated and the seller just paid out the rest of the contract for the rest of the year. So
I'm sorry. My neighbor and I were talking about the guy on the corner because the guy before him had a lawn service and the lawn looked great. And now it's like 1 year later, it looks horrible. I said, we should have an intervention. Hey, you used to be the best lawn in the neighborhood. Anyway, back up here on the top. Let's go up here real quick. Don't forget that all these items are pre-printed that they will convey. Okay. The one pushback I've seen on this one was when a seller wanted to take all the mounting brackets for electronics with him. And I don't know how that came up, but he told me, he says, I'm taking down the brackets. I'm like, well, the brackets actually convey. He was not aware of that. He didn't read that part of the contract. He goes, well, I'm sorry, I'm taking them with me. I got 7 of them. And when you think about it, if you got 7 TV brackets and they're at least $100, some of them are $200.
Yeah.
You're talking almost $1,000 with the hardware. So point that out to people in today's electronic world so they know, it's staying. And then the question is, do they have to fix the holes? I would say there's no direction in it, but to be a good neighbor, just patch them. Put some spackling in it, let it dry out and sand it down. At least people say, well, you should paint it. I'm like, if it's where a television was and the next person comes in and wants to put a television in there, now they know where the studs are.
Yeah.
That's my piece on that. Okay. And that's the conveyances. All right. Consent for dual agency. This is with everyone. This is whether or not they are willing to do dual agency. It says dual agency. It doesn't say approval. It's just like, hey, here's your choices with dual agency. And it talks about what that's about. And then it's consent. And then what you have here, I have read the above. I understand that I do not have to consent to dual agency, and that if I refuse to consent, there will not be a dual agency. They're signing that they've read above. I hereby consent to have blank act as a dual agent for me. Seller in the sale of property, buyer in the purchase, okay? Or the undersigned hereby consent to dual agent for the following property, one property. And then the undersigned consent to dual agency for the buyers below. All right. So every person should have this. See, it seems like something's missing on this. This doesn't look right because I thought there was a spot here where you could say I do not consent
to
dual agency.
So no, this is like consent for dual agency to the brokerage.
Yeah.
Then I think there's a separate form for that because this one is basically saying that it's almost in that like it's I forget how to explain it.
Hold on, let me see what this one is. Okay. I don't know. I know I've seen it where maybe it's a DC one. I don't know. Okay. Well,
I think it's in Virginia. Because for this one, this is Maryland.
Virginia does have that. Virginia has consent, doesn't consent.
Yeah.
This
one is more of a just in case. So you sign the first part and saying like you'll consent to dual agency within the brokerage, and then if it so happens that the buyer's agent does bring the buyer, then you go back and
do it again.
Confirm. Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought there was one that said I do not, and I must be getting them mixed up. Okay. So all clients sign this one, top part, consent for. If they affirm, they sign the bottom part. If they don't sign the bottom part, then it's not valid on the dual consent. Okay. Seller paid buyer broker compensation notice. Okay. So this is the listing side, and this is with the listing agreement in Montgomery and in Washington. Here's the notice. What is the offer? Seller hereby offers the buyer broker a cooperating compensation of. Notice what it says, cooperating compensation. Okay. How much in percent, how much in flat fee, or percent and flat fee? Listing agent, listing broker, seller broker. Okay. That's the form there. And it does not go to the buyer. It is something that if the buyer, meaning it doesn't go for them to signature for signature. But if a buyer agent was asking about it, you could send this to them to give them confirmation of what the price, what it would be. Any questions on any of that stuff so far? We got it? Okay. All right, lead-based paint. This is the federal form on GCAAR. I think most of you understand what this is. The seller's disclosures. I have known lead-based paint. I have no knowledge of lead-based paint. This is where you got to get sellers to understand when they say, well, it's 1965, so I guess I do. I guess I know. No, if you haven't had a test, then you do not know. That's the bottom line. So if they've never had a test on lead-based paint, the answer is no. Do I have any reports? No. This is the majority of them. All right. And then agent's acknowledgement. Agent is informed the seller's obligations. You initial here, seller sign here, agent signs on the last one. And then this is turned over to the buyer for the buyer to fill out on the right side. And then Maryland has their own lead-based poisoning prevention program disclosure as well. Is the property in that? It was constructed prior to 78, and the property is or is not registered in the Maryland program. Only the seller would know that. If it is, seller further discloses to buyer that an event as defined under the Maryland program has not occurred or has occurred. So I honestly don't know what that event is, but there's an event that they would have to disclose. Okay. Montgomery County jurisdictional addendum. Okay. So you've been using the GCAAR contract, which covers both Montgomery County and the District of Columbia. So this is a jurisdictional addendum that goes with the listing agreement for that listing form. And all this information is geared toward Montgomery County. There are 3 taxes payable in Montgomery County when a deed is recorded: the recordation tax, the state transfer tax, and the Montgomery County transfer tax. This can be several $1,000s. Okay. Maryland law requires that the cost of these 3 taxes shall be paid, and it just shows you how they are to be paid. All right. Like they did in the other forms of MAR. If there's a non-resident seller transfer, same information. Okay, there we go. This is the same information in the MAR. Open house. During an open house, seller hereby gives consent to broker and licensees thereof to discuss other properties unless otherwise specified here. So they want to make sure the seller is participating in whether or not you can talk to them. Say, obviously, Mr. Watson, I want to sell your house. If we get into this and your price is, $725, and they say, oh, I didn't know what the price was, we're looking more around 600, they don't qualify. Can I talk to them about properties 600? They come in. This isn't going to work for us. We have to have a bedroom on the main level. Okay. I could find you other properties that might meet your needs. That's kind of how that works. It's not, Yeah, I know. This is so overpriced and perform. Yeah, let's go find another house. That's not what we're doing. I'm going to talk to them about why this is a great deal, why it would be perfect for them, find out what their needs are, and try to gear that toward a good sale. Okay. Does that make sense? Yes. Does that sound fair? Because I am in business to sell real estate. Okay. So home security systems. I said, and I get all my sellers to do the same thing. I train my agents to do the same thing because it might be that an agent is holding an open house down the road from you, knows about your property, and by having that sign, they can come over here. So it is a hand in glove. It's a mutually beneficial agreement, is what I think. This is the recording system disclosure. Remember, a Ring doorbell is a monitoring and recording system. So yeah, there's no cameras inside. Do they have a Ring doorbell? Then it follows this. That's what that is. All written offers or counteroffers shall be presented to the seller in full as a hard copy or an electronic format. Termination. And this just explains if we need to terminate, what do we do? Okay. That's the jurisdictional. This is an amendment to the listing agreement. If for some reason you need to extend, change the price, take it off the market temporarily, that's what this is for. You just don't, they call it, I need it off the market this afternoon. Great, I'll do that, but I got to have this signed by you. Okay. Like if it would be extension, change, and change of terms, set into temporarily off market until further notice. Okay. Something like that. All right. That is the listing paperwork. I'm going to take 5 minutes, maybe 7, and I'll be back, and then we'll go into the contract. Okay.